So, get this, I nearly scrolled past the biggest VeChain news of the year. My eyes were glazing over until one weird phrase kind of jumped out and, well, shook me wide awake. And it might just change how we all use crypto. I'm not even kidding. As a guy who's been holding VeChain's VET and waiting for the next big catalyst, I almost missed it. So if you're like me and you think that you've seen everything in crypto, you're going to want to stick around for this, because by the end of this video, you'll know why, or at least what bridge to earn actually means and why it might quietly spark a DeFi revolution in places that no one actually expected. Sounds like a big claim, I know, but hear me out. This story has it all. A relatable screw-up, me nearly missing golden info, a clever little twist in blockchain tech, and maybe even a hint at the future of global crypto adoption. So, it's late at night and I'm doom scrolling through crypto news as usual. I see an article about VeChain partnering with something called OneChain. Pretty dry stuff, right? Another day, another partnership press release, and I was just about to swipe on past it, honestly. And I had one foot in dreamland already, right? But then I catch this phrase, bridge to earn. I literally said out loud, wait, what? Ever heard of that? Probably not. And I sure hadn't. It's not exactly trending on crypto Twitter. So immediately I'm like, bridge to earn? You mean I can earn by bridging tokens? This sounded so kind of out of the left field that I just kind of had to dig on in. Okay, let me just back up for a second. You know how blockchains are like separate islands, right? Bitcoin is one island, Ethereum is another island, VeChain is another. To get assets from one to the other, you usually have to use these things called bridges, kind of like building a rope bridge between islands to carry stuff across. Now, the problem here is that a lot of these rope bridges have been super sketchy, right? They're kind of talking, or at least we're talking here, massive hacks, exploits, people losing hundreds of millions, kind of sketchy. Now, I still remember reading about the Ronin bridge hack and just kind of shaking my head like, there goes $600 million. Poof. So yeah, I've always been a little bit wary of bridging assets. If I can avoid it, I do. I mean, do you really want to be the person who loses their crypto because they tried to save on fees moving from Ethereum to some random chain? No. I didn't think so. So when I first see VeChain to connect to 40 plus blockchains, my gut reaction was actually concern. I'm thinking, okay, VeChain, you're cool and all, but please don't become the next headline like cross-chain bridge exploit drains VeChain. So my inner skeptic was actually quite strong here. But that skeptic in me started to melt a little bit when I saw the name OneChain. Now, I've heard of OneChain in passing, and it's been around for a while, quietly doing cross-chain stuff. And get this, OneChain reportedly has handled over $1.5 billion in cross-chain transactions and, knock on wood, zero hacks or zero security incidents. Zero. Right? So I had to kind of blink and read that twice. That kind of track record is almost unheard of among crypto bridges. It's kind of like finding out an airline has never had an accident in its entire history. You'd better believe that I would fly with them if I had to, right? So, OneChain, having a clean sheet immediately made me think, all right, maybe this isn't a disaster waiting to happen. Maybe this could actually be safe. OneChain coming into VeChain's world is a pretty big deal because it's not just connecting VeChain to one or two other chains, it's actually connecting to over 40 different blockchains, tapping into literally billions of dollars of liquidity that is out there. So imagine VeChain was a small town, kind of isolated. What OneChain does is build highways from that town to 40 major cities around the world. Suddenly, goods... If I forget to edit the sneeze out, I apologize. But anyway, suddenly goods and, people can flow in and out freely, right? That's the scale that we're actually talking about here. VeChain's ecosystem could now seamlessly reach into Ethereum, Bitcoin, Binance Chain, and maybe even Solana, all the places where the action is kind of happening. So for someone like me holding VET, right, that sounds great because it means that VeChain isn't playing lone wolf anymore. It's becoming interoperable with the big boys. But here is the real kicker, and what had me rubbing my eyes. Bridge to earn. Usually when you use a bridge, you're just the one paying the toll fees, right? Well, it's kind of like paying at least a shipping fee to send your assets across. But VeChain and OneChain are saying, nah, let's flip that. How about we pay you to bridge? Say what now? So you're going to pay me to move my coins. Well, that was a weird phrase that kind of yanked me out of my slumber, right? What if moving your coins could actually earn you more coins? Crazy, right? So in a way, it's kind of like turning an annoying kind of chore into a bit of a side hustle. Let's think about travel. Connecting flights are a bit of a pain, aren't they? Right? You bounce through 3 different airports to get to where you want to go, worrying the whole time that your luggage will get lost. Well, bridging between blockchains has felt the same way. Multiple steps, plenty of worry. Now, imagine the airline says, we'll give you a bonus miles or cash for every layover. Suddenly those layovers don't sound so bad, right? You might even, seek them out. That's basically bridge to earn in a nutshell, rewarding people for doing the normal painful cross-chain hops. So instead of dreading it, you might actually go, maybe I'll bridge some funds today and earn a little on the side. So, according to the announcement, users, that's us by the way, the crypto peeps, will get rewards for completing specific cross-chain tasks. And here's the best part. There's no lockups. A lot of DeFi yield farming makes you lock up your tokens for a period, right? It's kind of like putting your money in a kind of timed safe, hoping that the rewards are worth the wait. Right here, it sounds like you can just jump in, do a task, earn rewards, and you're not handcuffed. Now, it could be something like, I don't know, move liquidity from VeChain to Ethereum, or provide liquidity to a cross-chain pool, and boom, reward. Right? They even hinted that future campaigns will integrate directly with VeChain's actual dApps. So you might use a VeChain application and get a cross-chain bonus for it. It's kind of like your local cafe that gives you a free coffee for taking a kind of short detour on your way to work. Small incentive, but hey, it gets you to your door. So at this point, I had to make sure that I wasn't dreaming or misreading. So I did the modern thing. I hopped into the Discord community to sanity check all of this. Here's a quick plug though. We run a free educational Discord server where a bunch of us crypto nerds hang out and kind of share tips. Now I jumped in and I basically went, guys, have you seen this bridge to earn thing on VeChain? And I got a whole lot of, what's that? Which told me that this news was flying under the radar. So we ended up having a kind of late night geek out session about it. One person was like, so it's like play to earn games, but for bridges. And I was like, yeah, you bridge your tokens and you get coins like it's a quest reward. So we kind of tossed around some ideas about how it might work in practice and what kind of tasks they would actually ask users to do. The consensus was it's pretty darn clever, and almost nobody in the wider crypto circles that I follow was actually talking about it yet. Now, as I'm digesting this bridge to earn concept, I read on and found out that this move with OneChain is part of something bigger called VeChain's. Here's full disclosure. I have no clue what VeChain's was before this. But don't feel bad if you haven't heard of it either. So I dug a little bit, and it turns out that VeChain's is basically VeChain's community hub for sustainability projects and Web3 for the good, right? So they're gamified, or they have gamified a bunch of real-world positive actions. Stuff like exercising, meditating, picking up trash in your neighborhood, and turning those into tokenized rewards. Now, according to the article, they've actually logged over 30 million of these sustainable actions. That's huge. I mean, I can barely kind of log 100 steps on my Fitbit these days. And here are people, logging millions of eco actions for tokens. Now, it's the kind of crypto meets Fitbit meets eco warrior mashup, right? Now, I obviously joke a little bit here saying that I haven't heard of VeChain's. Actually, if you haven't already found out about SideQuest, you can go ahead and check out the channel that we created. We used the VeChain dApps every single day for 12 days as we traveled from Madrid over to Bulgaria using nothing but crypto. So go check it out. The official SideQuest is the YouTube channel. We documented everything, and I think you'll get a kick out of seeing some of these dApps in action. So, for example, let's say you run 5K, and log it. Maybe you get some kind of token reward, or you kind of participate in a community cleanup, snap a pic, log it, get tokens. It's like earning, arcade tickets for doing good deeds. But here is the catch. Those tokens might have only lived within VeChain's world so far. Kind of like the kind of arcade tokens, right? You could only spend them at the arcade prize store. But now, with this one-chain bridge integration, well, those tokens and any rewards from those actions can leave the arcade, so to speak. They become tradable across other blockchains. Suddenly, those kind of fitness tokens that you earned could, for instance, be traded by, or at least on for some Ethereum or Bitcoin, or used in some other kind of chain's DeFi application. That's insane when you think about it. It's like you volunteer at a beach cleanup in Bali, earn some VeChain tokens for it, and you could then go ahead and swap it for, let's say, a few bucks worth of something that you actually need. All because someone, somewhere, finds value in these tokens on another chain. It basically connects niche community efforts to a much broader financial world. It's pretty inspiring stuff if they do pull it all off. And it's not happening in isolation. But the timing of this partnership lines up with a lot of other moves on VeChain's roadmap that shows that they're gearing up for a new era. Right? For one, there's this big upgrade coming called 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗍. Now, I'm not super technical, right? Maybe just a little bit, I joke, right? But I kind of gather that 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗀 will switch VeChain to a new kind of consensus, some kind of fancy DPoS, delegated proof of stake with dynamic tokenomic magic. In plain speak, right, it could actually make VeChain faster or more efficient, possibly able to handle more usage and maybe even change how rewards and the token economics work to keep things well balanced. The name 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗀𝗀, which means, Paraguayan falcon, I think, is actually kind of cool and implies speed. So that's on the horizon, meaning that the network itself is getting an overhaul for the better. On top of that, they're making strides in traditional finance space. Valour is listing a VeChain ETP, exchange traded product, in Europe. That's basically a stock market friendly way to invest in VeChain. So if Uncle Bob in Germany wants exposure to VET, but doesn't actually know how to use crypto exchanges or wallets, well, he might soon be able to buy this ETP through his regular kind of broker. Now that quietly opens the door for a lot of new investors who were too shy to actually get into crypto directly. It's a different kind of bridge if you think about it, bridging traditional markets with crypto markets. And then there's the heavyweight, Franklin Templeton, and these guys are one of the biggest asset managers in the world. When I saw their name, I was like, hold up, that Franklin Templeton? Yeah. Right? They are apparently working on custody infrastructure for VeChain. In other words, they're ready to help big institutions hold VET securely. Now, if a big bank or a pension fund or some huge investor wants in on VeChain, well, Franklin Templeton is basically saying, we'll babysit your crypto for you, no worries. So when big finance is comfortable enough to put their reputation on the line for a crypto project, that's a green flag in my book. It's kind of like hearing that Warren Buffett personal security team vetted the venue for your event, right? You're going to feel a little bit more confident showing up. Now, all of this happening more or less concurrently. Technical upgrades, cross-chain exposure, and making it easier for both retail and institutional money to actually flow into VeChain. It's a multi-pronged attack in the best possible way. It's almost like VeChain's team sat down and said, all right, what are all the reasons that people might hesitate to use or to invest in VeChain? Let's tackle them all. Fear of security issues. Okay, let's get a rock-solid bridge solution. Not enough places actually use VET. Okay, let's connect to 40 other ecosystems. People don't want to bother unless, there's something in it for them. Okay, let's give them rewards to participate. Big money hesitant to because of custody or regulation. Okay, let's partner with Franklin and Templeton and get an ETP out there, right? They're checking off a lot of boxes all at once. So one thing that really kind of stood out was the mention that this whole cross-chain push positions VeChain to scale adoption in emerging markets, especially across the global south. Now that resonates with me because crypto's promise has always kind of been about banking the unbanked, democratizing finance, all those kind of big ideas. But often it's the same kind of people in New York or London or Shanghai trading meme coins, while someone in Nigeria or India faces huge barriers to entry and liquidity. So if VeChain, through this integration, can make it so liquidity flows more easily into places that need it, well, that could be a game changer. Right, picture a developer in Kenya building a VeChain decentralized application for local farmers, with cross-chain bridges that developers could tap into liquidity or services from Ethereum to other chains to make this app even more useful, and farmers could earn a little extra through some incentive program for participating. Now, then they could cash those tokens out on an exchange or a marketplace where previously VeChain tokens might not have had any buyers. It's opening doors in a way that's very aligned with the whole sustainable, inclusive vibe that VeChain has been going for. So let me highlight one quote that kind of summed it up nicely. One of VeChain's ambassadors, a guy named Sebastian, commented that integrating OneChain into VBetterDAO is a major step towards scaling adoption and liquidity. He basically said that VeChain is now positioning itself to stand out by combining security, incentives, and accessibility. The trifecta really hit me, right? Security, incentives, accessibility. Now, if you have all three, then why wouldn't people at least kind of give your blockchain a try? It's the holy trinity of getting real users, right? You're safe from hackers, right? At least as safe as you can be anyway. You're literally getting paid to participate, and it's easy to access even if you're not a crypto guru. Now, I remember thinking, man, if that isn't a recipe for growth, I don't know what is. And as if the bridge thing wasn't enough, VeChain has also rolled out a 5.48 billion V4 incentive pool to reward us VET holders for, sticking around. So when I saw that, I almost did a double take. 5.48 billion V4. That's not chump change, right? They're running this program through to the end of 2025. And here's how it works. VET holders can stake their VET on something called the Stargate platform. That's basically VeChain's official staking setup to generate V4, which is the kind of gas token for the network transactions, right? Similar kind of concept to Ethereum gas. Now, normally you would just stake and earn some V4, right? Anyway, nothing new there. But with this incentive program, they're juicing the returns. The longer that you stake, like if you commit to keeping your VET staked for a longer period, the more bonus V4 that you get. They mentioned higher multipliers for longer term commitments. So if you're willing to lock up your VET and chill, you get rewarded extra, especially if we get closer to the 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗍 upgrade. So it's kind of like VeChain is saying, please don't just day trade this stuff, right? We need dedicated participants and we'll pay you for your loyalty. Now, this approach is clearly aimed at having a robust, steady network when they flip the switch on the new upgrade. They don't want people dumping or leaving right before the big show. It encourages the community to think long term, which I appreciate. I've always kind of been a fan of projects that reward patience. So if it aligns the, incentives of the user with the health of the network, you hold and stake, right? The network gets sustainability and security. You get compensated for the big, or at least for the opportunity cost, at least of not trading away your tokens. It's kind of a win-win. Now, I want to take a moment to acknowledge something, and I know that I'm sounding pretty hyped about all this, and yeah, I am, but I also know that nothing is ever guaranteed in crypto. Innovations like these can flop or get overshadowed, and I'm not blind to that fact. So at this point, I'm optimistic, but I'm also keeping my expectations in check. Now, this might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile, and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. All right, I'm glad that we got that out of the way. So I'm telling you, I'm telling you to kind of run out and buy a bag of VET. Am I saying that? No, absolutely not. What I am saying is keep an eye on VeChain and what it's actually doing. Because in a sea of hype, rug pulls and meme coins, there's actually a project rolling out thoughtful features and incentives to grow adoption. It's refreshing. So I've been in this space long enough to see waves of promises that never materialize. So yeah, I'm cautiously excited here. To me, it's not just about whether VET's price will pump, though hey, I'm not allergic to a nice pump either. It's about VeChain's potentially becoming a more widely used blockchain. So if they can onboard people in emerging markets, get institutionals, players kind of comfortable, and entice everyday crypto users to actually use the chain for something beyond just holding and speculating, well, that is a huge win in my book. It could drive value in a kind of more sustainable, real usage kind of way. And from a personal angle, this whole thing rekindled some of my enthusiasm as a VET holder. Like many of you, I bought into VeChain because of its real-world focus, supply chain tracking, and all of that. And I've been waiting, sometimes impatiently, for that big kind of adoption moment. It's been a bit slow, if I'm being honest, right? But these developments make me feel like the wheels are finally back in motion, like the project's evolving from a niche blockchain into something more versatile and broadly useful. It's the difference between a one-trick pony and a Swiss Army knife, Now, I also get some of you might be new and maybe wondering, okay, this is cool and all, but how do I even get VeChain or use any of this stuff? Well, to interact with any crypto, you usually need to start on an exchange. Now, I use a few different exchanges myself. For example, BitGet is one that I've been using recently for some of my trades. And yes, there's the one on this channel's partners, I guess, right? Or one we're affiliated with. Now, the link that's in the description down below actually does support this channel at no extra cost to yourself. Now, I've also tried Blowfin, which is a pretty user-friendly one as well. And yep, I do have an affiliate link in the description for those guys too, just being transparent. So you don't have to use those links or those exchanges, of course. Use whatever you're comfortable with. But if you're looking for a place and want to support the channel at the same time, then feel free to check them out. Just remember, whichever exchange you do use, be mindful of the risks. Don't leave all of your funds on there for too long. Use 2FA. Basically, stay safe. We've all kind of heard the horror stories, so a little caution goes a long way. Now, the cool thing is, with incentives like Bridge to Earn, in the future, a lot of swapping and moving assets might actually happen more on-chain, without needing to hop on and off exchanges so much. Imagine a world where you kind of hold your crypto in your own wallet and you can move between networks effortlessly and easily, and you get paid for doing a little bit of it, right? Without trusting some middleman exchange, right? That's the kind of end game for decentralization, right? Well, we're not there yet, but we're seeing established projects like VeChain take steps in that direction, which gives me hope that we're at least inching closer. So to wrap up, let me say this. I almost missed this story, and it taught me a lesson. Sometimes big things start quietly. A small headline, a single phrase can signal a huge shift. VeChain's Bridge to Earn model, it might sound like jargon at first, but if you kind of look under the hood, it represents a pretty novel approach to getting people on board and spreading liquidity across chains. It addresses real pain points, and it's a reminder of why I fell in love with crypto in the first place. It's not the Lambos or the 100x moonshots. I mean, okay, those are fun too, but it's actually the innovation. It's the idea that something, or somewhere out there, someone is kind of always tinkering with a new way to make this whole crypto thing work just better for everyone. So I'm excited to see how all this plays out, and I'm definitely going to be keeping you guys updated on my own little journey with it, whether it's in our Discord chats or another video down the line. Who knows? Maybe I'll even try out one of those bridging tasks myself, earn a few tokens, and then come back to tell you how it all went. But all right, that is enough from me today. So if you've stuck around this long, you're exactly the kind of person that I love sharing these discoveries with. So For now, you can tap that subscribe button, hit the like button if you've enjoyed today's video, and you can check out the video that is queuing up on the screen just over there to, continue the next crypto adventure.